Hi, everyone. I'm Sister Helen Prejean, a good, dear friend of Magdaleno Rose-Avila, whom I didn't know I was the only one. I'm always called him Lenny. I know everybody else called him Leno or Magdaleno. Anyway, the way we met was that he was in charge of amnesty over in Atlanta. I had just written, no, I hadn't written Dead Man Walking yet, but I was engaged in giving talks. I was having all these experiences by getting involved with death row inmates. I'd been through 2 executions. I was beginning to give talks in different parts of the country to people. And Magdaleno was working with Amnesty. And I had heard that Amnesty International was having its own campaign and educating its own Amnesty members about the death penalty. So I was trying to get a hold of him in Atlanta. Judy Horn was his secretary. And I would call and just say, could I please talk to Magdalena Rose-Avila? Found out he didn't talk to nuns. He was mad at nuns because he had had a terrible experience with nuns. Can't say I blame him. I'm just saying, but he wouldn't take my phone calls. And finally, Judy Horn, his secretary, had had enough. She just didn't tell him. She just brought the phone plunk into his office, put it right to his ear, and said, you got to talk to this nun. Anyway, and there we were. And so then it began. And so I just went, Lenny, I don't know why I called him Lenny. Lenny, you got to help us. We're trying to organize here in Louisiana. They're killing people like mad here. And I need help with everything. I've never done this before. So anyway, would you please come to Louisiana? Well, he did. He came, I picked him up at the airport. We met over at Hope House, and he had his suitcase in the back seat of the car. We went in for the meeting. This is in the St. Thomas Housing Project. Came out of the meeting, someone had smashed the window, stolen his suitcase, and we had to go to the store and get him new pajamas. And he had this big thing. They stole my blue pajamas. This guy is standing in the St. Thomas Projects right in the middle going, who took my blue pajamas? He's yelling that up into all the buildings. I said, Lenny, get in this car, get in this car. We went and got him some new pajamas, and that was the beginning. In 1990, we did a long march from death row in Stark, Florida, to the Martin Luther King Center in Atlanta. And if I hadn't had Lenny by my side, it was the first big march I ever organized. And he got SCLC, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He knew all of Martin Luther King's people. And they got Fred Taylor to work with us. And we had this march to call attention, first national march of this kind, to call attention to the death penalty. And on the last day of the march, we were 2 weeks on the road, a lot of stories in there, sleeping on church benches and in gymnasiums. And we're going to march into Atlanta, and Lenny's job was to come into the city with 90 coffins, because in 1990, that's how many people had been executed in the U.S. Couldn't have done it without him. We did the march. At the end of it, I was so bloom tired, I fainted. I'd never done anything like this in my life. And that what really sealed us as friends, because we worked on that march together. Then when Dead Man Walking came out, when the book came out in 93, Random House had a tour of the book in the Northeast and LA and all the big cities. But Lenny, we also had an amnesty tour where we loaded up Dead Man Walking in the back of a van. We started out in San Diego. Nobody had ever heard of this book. And we're making our way from San Diego all the way up the road to Seattle, 2 weeks on the road. And we'd just stop in restaurants. We'd stop in all along and just hand the book out to people. We were just giving it out to start getting it out. We get to Seattle, and then no more books. In the back of the van, we'd given them all out. And that was really Lenny's spirit. You want to do something good, I'll be in there with you. Or he initiated it. He brought me to Tijuana. He brought me into immigrants' families. I mean, every time I was with him, I was learning something from Lenny, a generosity of spirit like I had never known before. He's at Uvalde when there was the school shooting so that he could be with families. He had the biggest heart, I think, of anybody I've ever met. And I remember one night in particular on the road somewhere in California, making our way toward Seattle. We stopped, we're going to drive all night, stopped at 2 o'clock in the morning to get some coffee. And I remember the Hell's Angels were in this place. And they were the tiredest looking bunch of people I ever knew. And anyway, we came out, we get ready to get in the car, and Lenny says to me, well, Sister Helen, what's going to be the next book you write? And we were both so tired anyway. And I just said, Lenny, why did the nun kill the Mexican on the road? Well, that carried us for a long time. And he'd periodically come down to New Orleans. He was always working for other people. And I loved him intensely. And I carry him inside me. And I know everybody gathered here in LA at this memorial, you're all friends of his. And we blow on the coals of the fire that's banked in there of what we knew about Lenny and what he taught us to keep the fire of social justice going. Every time we'd call, he'd answer the phone always, si se puede, si se puede. We have the power. Yes, we can. So love to all of you gathered here. Lenny's love in all of us. Special love to Carolyn and to Aviva and to his son, to all of his family and all of us in his extended family. I celebrate his wonderful life, and may we do halfway, a quarter way, a fraction of the way that he extended himself in love for others. God bless you, Magdaleno Rose-Avila.